Love it. Never cease, eh? I mean, that's nice because I like living. Yeah, we know about the
Yeah.
resurrection. I can't wait to have
Yeah.
all those seasons continually happening. Even the season that I'm experiencing right now in Canada, and I think you guys are experiencing it there too, Sean. Lindsay posted not too long ago a little picture of some white dust on the ground. So I
Yeah.
enjoy
Yeah.
winter too. I appreciate all the father seasons. You know.
Where we live, we've already gotten 2 or 3 snow storms blow in, and yeah, I enjoy them too. Fall. I think fall is probably might be my favorite. Something about it with the amber and dark and red colors happening on the trees and the shrubs, and the something about it. It's interesting.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I agree with you that this is an instruction by the Father, and we also see this again in Jeremiah 33. But he's not gonna stop. The correlate the circuits of the sun and the moon and the seasons. This is actually kind of important groundwork to be laid to understood later in Revelation when it's describing the New Jerusalem, and it says there's no need for the sun and the
Yeah.
moon inside the New Jerusalem. And people kind of get tripped up and they think, oh, there won't be a normal Earth atmosphere and environment and seasons and daylight and sunlight and all that stuff. They think that because of that description, they're not thinking that description is talking about just inside the kingdom, because most people who take that and get tripped up on it don't realize it's talking about a physical city, a physical enclosed kingdom. They think it's talking about the entirety of creation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. It's going to be a beautiful thing to see a perfected seasonal change, as opposed to, I feel like the earth right now does groan in
Yeah. Totally.
anticipation, of the sons of God to be revealed. So I do think that there's things on the earth right now that happen that aren't typical. I can't explain why, but it's my suspicion that things like hurricanes and tornadoes and cyclones will not be on the earth when the kingdom comes and God has control over the seasonal changes, the atmospheric daily weather, that kind of thing. I could be wrong. What do you think about that?
Yeah. No, I would agree. I think we as men are devastating the earth as well. Through our lawlessness and through our plundering of the earth and doing things that go against the Father's instructions, right? Not giving it Sabbath rests, none of that stuff. So the earth just naturally will, there's um, consequences to that, right? And so I just think that that's what we're experiencing through some of these, negative weather patterns and systems that do move in and through the earth. But I agree, I don't think there'll be anything that's dangerous to the nations outside of the New Jerusalem during the millennial reign and thereafter, right? I think we're going to have everything as it is supposed to be, and we also won't have men manipulating weather
Yeah,
patterns and
yeah,
creating their own chaotic systems so they can further an agenda. But yeah.
yeah. Do you think about that as well? Like, I know that the world pushes the idea of climate change as it's happening due to mankind's pure existence and trying to live, with a semblance of modern luxuries and things like that. But that's the narrative that's pushed on us, that we have to, the
We
world and
have to accept.
the yeah, the governments of the world want us to believe that we're causing the problem, not from the vein that you just said, but from the vein of the average citizen, the average person of nations is causing the problem by just either consuming too much or expecting too much.
Yeah.
Whereas truly, it's the kings of the earth behind the scenes that are intentionally trying to manipulate the creation and also destroying it. This has been consistent throughout history, in my understanding of Scripture, that whenever mankind do that kind of transgression, that kind of sin, it leads to the earth revolting. It leads to the earth, the physical land being corrupted, which is what we read in Genesis 6, verse 13. All
Yeah.
this is the earth itself will become corrupted as well. And so I think that's why the Father tells us in 2 Chronicles 7:14, if you, turn from your wicked ways and seek my face, I
Yeah.
will I will
Heal the
heal your
land. Yeah.
land. It's like
Yeah.
the land is intimately tied to our behavior. The enemy wants us to think it's the average person's behavior, but really they're the ones with the power, the money, the mega weapons, and that they're the ones that are pushing the problem and then telling us we're the problem. So I'm excited for Revelation 11 to happen, as it says that when uh, the seventh trumpet blows and the angels are praising God because he has taken his power and begun to reign, to come and then it goes through a list of people that the Father and Son are going to address when they return. And at the end of that list, it says, and to I think it says to recompense, no, to destroy those who are destroying the earth.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so the
Enoch.
Father
Yeah.
knows that it's not just you and me out here living our life, trying to have a little backyard garden and trying to walk our dog and trying to have a
Yeah.
light bulb in our house that's a 50 watt. Like, we're not destroying the earth by just trying. You know, He knows who's destroying the earth.
Yeah, I agree. It's the ultimate gaslight, really, right?
Mhm.
Like what they're doing to us.
Yeah,
It's crazy. It's just funny, like reading chapter 8 there at the beginning, where it's like God remembered Noah and all the animals. It's like I just wonder what that conveys in the Hebrew. Like because certainly he didn't forget, right? So it's funny when you're reading it at first. It's like you just picture Noah on this massive body of water, this arc that's floating up and down. He's seasick. He's just like, oh my gosh, like how much longer? Like when is this going to end, right? And it's like you pan over to God in heaven, and he's just like, oh right, you guys, okay. Now I'll bring I'll recede the waters, and we'll let you out. And it's just funny because I can just picture Noah and his family being like super anxious to get off this thing, right? Because
sure.
I can't imagine what that environment would have been like, how smelly that would have been, like
Yeah,
how loud
very
it would
stinky.
have been, stinky. So it's just
Sure.
like when Yahweh's like, "All right, guys, you can get off the ark." I just see everyone just piling through this door, just like a traffic jam of everybody trying to get out. Uh,
Yeah, I know that it's been theorized, by people trying to explain the flood story, that a lot of babies were brought on. Others talked about how, since they were on there for 150 days and more, actually, that some of the animals started hibernating.
yeah,
And a lot of that is conjecture, obviously. I would agree that it makes more sense to bring on the smaller babies than it is the full grown adults. But even still, I don't know if they hibernated. But when I think about it being pitched from within and without, and then having this um, what it seems like we just read in chapter 8, which was Noah. He takes the dove and the raven, and he's trying to figure it. He's letting them out the window, and then when it's done, he takes the covering off the ark, and it seems like, and it's very limited description, but it seems like there is no like exterior observation deck that they walked out onto to look around.
yeah,
It seems as if they were just encapsulated in there for this whole time, and if they've pitched it for waterproofing within and without, well, then where are they dumping all the feces from all the animals?
yeah. Did they make like a little, confined area for all that, like the dunghill?
Yeah, it could have been the room that we don't go to in the
Yeah,
ark. That's just where
yeah,
we shovel. Shem and Ham and Japheth is just their morning chores is just shoveling poop into that room. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. That's weird. Or maybe they figured out a way to compost it on the ark. I don't know. But
yeah.
either way, little details like that run through my mind because I've worked on a story about this, a 3-part trilogy of novels about this, and that was some of the practical details I was trying to think of. Is like, man, did they build some sort of like trolley or trough system, or like where they could flush, everyone's stall once a day or something, and I just didn't. I was trying to figure out how in the world did they do this practically. That place was stinky.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really cool to think about. I think in the Apocalypse of Abraham, where Abraham is shown kind of a picture, he's given like a picture vision mechanism in the seventh firmament where he is with the Father, and he's looking into it, and he's seeing things in the future and in the past. And I'm just wondering, like, when the kingdom comes and we're all resurrected and we're all just eager to know the entire history and how everything worked, like even just what we're discussing right now, I picture something like that, just like a large picture vision screen that we're all just able to rewind back and see what did it look like in the ark. Do we get like a close-up angle on all the different things in the ark and how they dealt with it. And I hope we have access to that, because I'm genuinely eager to know, right?
Yeah. Yeah, some comments right now in the live chat. Some people are saying, yeah, they did have a compost pile. Other people said they believe there was definitely a disposal system, and then some have even suggested the pigs could have consumed most of the
Right.
waste. That's
Yeah.
interesting. I didn't think about that. Um, yeah, there's I guess a lot of things on there that are unclean animals that eat just anything that's put in front of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Dogs eat their own vomit. It's
Yeah, they
horrible.
and they have a purpose in this created model, right? These
Yeah,
unclean animals, they're amazing. They do their job properly. So it's
yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, guys. Well, if Genesis 8 is pretty fascinating. There are 150 days plus on the ark. I know it says 150 days here, but then they stayed a few after. It seems like once that waiting for things to fully dry out. But Noah and his family stayed inside the ark for more than 150 days. Noah used birds to test whether or not the flood waters had fully receded. The Almighty instructed Noah, his family, and all the animals to exit the ark, and which I again, just to me, that assumes an angel's there to say,
Yeah.
okay, it's good now. Since you apparently don't have any outer windows where you can just see. I mean, this is like a mega cruise ship, right? So if they pitched it outside and inside, then there's no windows that they could just look out, as far as I understand, because then that would require a whole different type of sealing method, for those windows to be watertight. So it seems like the only thing they could do is like get up on the top and look out over the edge, but like I don't know the design of the top of the ark and if that was even possible. So it may have been necessary for an angel to show up and say, "Okay, you can get up now."
Yeah.
It's okay to exit this thing. And then Noah built an altar after he got off to the Almighty. He built an altar, which was Pentecost, which was Shavuot when he celebrates this, and to renew the covenant, which is instructed in the eternal Torah. So this is our Torah
Mm.
portions today, guys. It's how God instructs us in various ways through many prophets throughout time. And Noah was a prophet who did absolutely know the behavior of the Creator, and he practiced it faithfully, even the 1 day of year first fruits festival of Shavuot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's
I
beautiful.
love that it's a renewal of the covenant. It's
Yeah,
just a reminder every year to renew it and to remember it. And I mean, it's an important covenant to be remembered of because it's one that has everlasting implications, right? So it's one that I definitely recommend people participate in. It's fun, it's full of
yeah.
meaning, and yeah, it beats the alternative holidays that we can be celebrating. So